Hey, Communist Creeper, you aren't a fan of the political right if I'm not mistaken.
No, you are not. I do not like them.
Well, I wanted to figure out why that was, and instead of just asking you, I figured I'd watch a PragerU video on the topic.
You just want to cover a PragerU video with me, don't you?
Yup.
Why do you hate conservatives?
Well, hello to you too. This is a rather sudden question on your part, I have to say.
Well, let's not say hate. Let's say dislike, because you don't really hate anyone.
Actually, I don't really hate her. I just really dislike her.
We can say hate. I am perfectly fine with hating people.
You may dislike them because they want to ban abortion. Conservatives say they're all for freedom, but when it comes to a woman's freedom to choose what she wants to do with her own body, they sing a different tune. You may dislike them because they oppress people of color and deny the fact that America is systemically racist. Conservatives say that everybody is equal regardless of race, and that racism has little to no effect on the daily lives of people of color. So, they just ignore the issue altogether. You may dislike them because they don't believe in climate change. Scientists keep telling us we're overheating the planet, and conservatives don't seem to care. They're more concerned about profits than people. But what good is money if you have no planet to spend it on? You may dislike them because they're obsessed with guns. How are we ever going to stop gun violence if we don't get guns off the streets? And how are we ever going to get guns off the streets if conservatives block every common-sense gun law? You may dislike them because they're so intolerant. What's the harm of calling somebody by their preferred pronouns? Why can't conservatives just show some compassion instead of obsessing over every kind of behavior they don't like? You may dislike them because if they got their way, they'd get rid of democracy and establish an authoritarian theocracy. Bye-bye separation of church and state. Hello, fascism.
You gave perfectly reasonable reasons to hate conservatives. How is this not an Onion video? How is this supposed to defend conservatism in any way?
After all that, you might sum up conservatives with one word.
The three words that best describe you are as follows, and I quote, stink, stank, stunk.
Ugh.
Actually, this is the perfect word to describe conservatives.
If any of this resonates with you, I get it. I've been there. But, and this surprised me, I found they actually have reasons for thinking the way they do.
Just because people have reasons for what they believe does not make them any more correct in their beliefs. The Nazis had reasons to have their beliefs, but that does not make the Nazis correct in any shape or form.
I just want to point out, by the way, it would be totally impossible to actually believe something for no reason. I was going to write a joke like, I thought they rolled a dice and got a 5 and now they're against abortion, but that would still be a reason. It would just be a stupid reason.
Here are some of them. On abortion. To start, we can agree that no one likes abortion, but there is a clear divide on the issue. Progressives focus their attention on the mother. Conservatives, while they have compassion for the mother, focus their attention on the baby. They see a human being growing in a mother's womb as innocent and vulnerable. Those babies deserve to be protected, since they obviously can't protect themselves.
Conservatives claim to care about the fetus within the mother. And let's get that straight. It is a fetus, not a baby. But as soon as the thing pops out of the mother, it is okay to leave it to die in a horrible situation under capitalism.
On racism. Conservatives don't deny that racist people exist.
Jesse Lee Peterson has quite literally said that, and he's a conservative.
You ready for this? It's a doozy.
I'm ready.
It's 2018 in America. Does racism exist?
Absolutely not. And it has never existed.
Whoa!
It has never. It's
Wait, whoa!
It's a made-up word.
What about the picture in the 60s with the German shepherds on the black guy, the civil rights movement, and the cops, and the guy like that?
Well, that's because you were having protests. Whenever you could have a protest today, and if people go out of control, you're going to see the same thing. It was just a protest. And you're hearing this from a man. I grew up in Alabama. I grew up under the Jim Crow laws. I went to an all-black school. There were signs that says for colors only, for whites only.
That sounds pretty racist.
Yeah. But it wasn't racist. It was a law that was brought about by the Democrats. And they brought that law into effect, and it separated people by law, but yet most blacks and whites got along.
But when it comes to the narrative of systemic racism, conservatives are unconvinced.
So conservatives deny reality and facts because they just are unconvinced by reality. Got it.
Of course, there are disparities in this country, but why assume that these disparities are because of racism?
It might be because of racism, because of silly things like slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, the war on drugs, or stop and frisk. You know, silly things that are made specifically to target people of color.
Or it could be because many of these issues, including gaps in employment, wealth, and education, all fall along racial lines pretty damn nicely.
Good schools, good parents, good habits, and good communities would go much further toward alleviating poverty and expanding opportunity than a lifetime of racial justice movements.
Yeah, MLK just got nothing done within his lifetime of social justice.
Also, are you guys under the impression that this isn't the goal of various racial justice movements out there? The Black Panthers were so dedicated to helping their community, they famously gave free breakfasts to poor kids, which caused the federal government to do the same out of fear of people growing overly sympathetic to them. In the same regard, multiple people have addressed that the schools minority children go to tend to be in worse shape than those of white children. You're saying we don't need activism, we need the things activists fight for.
No, the Black Panthers are horrible black supremacists who are scary for using their Second Amendment rights. They deserve to be completely obliterated by the United States federal agencies.
I followed the BLM movement pretty damn closely in 2020 and 2021, and I can't for the life of me remember them chanting, "We want bad communities, we want bad schools."
By the way, these rules apply to everyone, regardless of skin color.
You mean good things make the lives of people better? No shit.
I thought the bad things made lives better. My bad.
On climate change, conservatives have very little faith in computer models that have been inaccurately predicting disaster for nearly half a century.
Can you, give some examples, please?
Conservatives have a lot of faith, however, in human ingenuity to overcome climate. What is air conditioning but a human adaptation to the environment?
Yeah, all those poor people who would actually be affected by a massive change in our climate, just go get air conditioning. Same thing to all of you third world countries that are at risk as a result.
If you are depressed, just be happy.
See Miami or Phoenix for further reference.
338 people died of extreme heat in Arizona over the course of 2021. Is that part of the adaptation you're talking about?
This is not to say we should simply do nothing. Nuclear power, for example, holds so much promise as a renewable and safe energy source.
Nuclear power is not renewable.
Something being clean does not make it renewable.
Conservatives don't understand why environmentalists oppose it.
Well, have you considered that maybe they have reasons?
People having reasons for their beliefs automatically makes their beliefs correct.
I actually Googled why do environmentalists oppose nuclear power and found an article from Green America listing 10 reasons as to why this is the case, with examples being things like fear of accidents, which seems pretty legitimate given the disasters at places like 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl, toxic waste, and increased risk of cancer among those who are exposed to it. Even if you don't find these to be legitimate concerns, those are reasons, and given this video is about saying conservatives believe things for reasons, as if that means something, you not granting the same courtesy to critics of nuclear power seems really hypocritical.
It makes them skeptical and suspicious that the real agenda behind the environmentalist movement is not saving the planet, but giving more power to the government to control people's lives.
No, it is to save the planet.
On guns, we all want to live in a safe society. This is why firearms are regulated in every state. But we know bad guys will always find a way to get guns. See Chicago and Baltimore for further reference.
What is the point of laws, or rules at all? People will break laws, but that should not stop laws from existing. Murderers will murder, so why have murder be illegal?
That's why conservatives want guns, to protect themselves from the bad guys. It's not much more complicated than that. On tolerance, conservatives see tolerance as a two-way street. If someone demands to be addressed by certain pronouns and considers it intolerant if you don't comply, conservatives wonder why that isn't intolerant.
What? Calling someone intolerant? They're not like bullying your Burger King burger or anything in this hypothetical. They're literally just calling you a word. Kind of like what you're doing. We haven't even gotten to the claim that intolerance is bad yet. We're just arguing if it exists or not. I think this video is really confusing and stupid.
Being bigoted towards trans people is in fact intolerance, and trans people existing is in fact not intolerant.
Why are a conservative's moral or religious beliefs less worthy of respect than anyone else's?
Their views are bigoted and outdated, so therefore should be taken less seriously.
On authoritarianism. Whenever conservatives win political power, they're typically trying to cut taxes and regulations, make the government smaller, and bolster constitutional freedoms like that of speech and religion.
Conservatives only cut taxes for the rich, screwing over everyone else. They make the government smaller in ways that would help people like Social Security and healthcare while making the military and police larger powers. And as we see in Florida and Tennessee, conservatives hate freedom of speech. In Florida, the governor wants to ban anything with the word woke, which he doesn't ever actually define. In Tennessee, people are being expelled from their Congress for using their First Amendment right to protest. Conservatives only care about Christianity as a religion, not any other religion or lack thereof.
Honestly, I could write an entire response to this just like Creeper did, but instead I'm going to focus on the fact that these people failed to provide any examples to back up their claim, so I simply don't take such an argument seriously.
That doesn't sound very authoritarian, does it?
Yeah, if you define conservatism in a totally arbitrary way without any explanation, you aren't wrong.
Conservatism sounds good in theory, but in practice it never works. This is a joke, by the way. It's a reference to how people will say, oh, socialism sounds good in theory. This is a joke. It doesn't actually sound good in theory.
Side note, what do you even mean by conservative in this context? Are we talking paleo-conservatives like Pat Buchanan? Are we talking about neoconservatives like Dick Cheney and Max Boot? How about libertarian conservatives like Gary Johnson or Ron Paul? Because many of the paleo-conservative wing would actually be rather critical of mindless calls for less regulation and smaller government, as is typically associated with the libertarian side of conservatism. In fact, many traditionalist conservatives, Russell Kirk for example, were critical of conservatives working with libertarians, saying it would have made more sense to work with communists. He also didn't like communists, for the record. On the libertarian end, F.A. Hayek felt the same way, as seen by him, including an essay criticizing conservatism quite heavily in his book, The Constitution of Liberty. If you want to know more about this, I talk about it in detail in my commentary on Democrat myths. Hell, if you want to go really far back, you could point out how much of modern conservatism has its roots in the Federalist Party of the late 18th and early 19th century, which opposed, among other things, the Bill of Rights. Meaning when PragerPoo says conservatives want to boost freedom of speech and assembly, they're saying conservatives want to protect something they originally opposed putting in the Constitution.
Ephraim knows more about politics, or just conservatism in general, than every conservative combined.
Progressive policy almost always raises taxes, expands regulations, increases the size of government, and now curtails free speech.
They raise taxes on the rich to benefit more people, expand regulations to help more amounts of people, increase healthcare. And no, counterculture is not against freedom of speech, it is people expressing their own freedom of speech with disagreements.
Also, and I cannot stress this enough, please start giving examples to back up your claims or shut the fuck up.
To a conservative, that sounds authoritarian. Well, now that you've heard a few of their arguments, do you dislike conservatives less than you did before?
Honestly, I think I dislike them even more.
I hate them even more.